Hello, mayors. Hello, mayoresses. How are you all doing? I hope you're well. We're here to start another episode of Barbosini Island, our vanilla island. If you like the series, please leave your like here at the beginning of the video. If you're not subscribed yet, I ask you to consider subscribing as well, because this will be the year we reach 100,000 subscribers on the channel, and I really count on your support and participation, alright? We're here flying over the mountains with a view of our city, our Japanese village, an island within another island, right? A Japanese island. And, well, in the last episode, you saw the creation of our coast, the shoreline, where we placed the Japanese Parliament building, which will also serve as the parliament for the whole island. After all, it's just one city, and that's how it turned out. I hope you liked it. Well, let's take a look at the city overall now. We're losing population here, okay, but our unemployment rate is doing well. Okay, 6.5% unemployment is not a high number. And regarding the economy here, we need to produce wood internally, but as for grains and cattle, we're managing to have a surplus here. That's good, right? We produce everything internally, and the vegetables are almost sustaining themselves, right? And oil as well, it's almost sustaining itself here. After all, we have a well-developed oil industry. Cotton, the consumption is low, but we produce it internally. Well, we still need to figure out firewood and fish. And we know that Japanese cuisine uses a lot of fish and other seafood. And I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to start planning, right? These fishing routes, right? Well, I'm going to start making an adjustment here because, as I explained in the last episode, we have an entrance here and an entrance in the city. Here and here, in this back area, there's no entrance, right? Everyone who wants to access this back part of the island has to enter through here. And when I start zoning this part, right, everything will conflict here at the same point with the people who want to access the center anyway. And speaking of the center, I modified the central park here on the Japanese island. Well, I know we were talking about the city entrances and also the access through the intersections, but I changed the center of our Japanese city here in this part of the park because a lot of people had commented that the rising sun flag here refers to a time in Japan that wasn't so nice, right? In their history. And really, in fact, Imperial Japan committed some atrocities that wouldn't be very nice to be associated with here. I didn't think about that at the time, you know? It was more out of innocence. But I said, well, I'll change it. After all, I wasn't really liking it that much anyway, right? I tried to make one, it turned out bad. I tried to redo it, it was so-so, and I thought, well, if I redo it now, I think it'll turn out even better. And that's what you're watching there in the time-lapse. I erased everything and started redoing it from scratch. And my idea was to make small circles that would work as plazas. And from these circles, connect curved paths from one circle to another, so that they seemed connected, and in this way, connected the whole plaza. Also, after making the connections with the paths, I focused on the texture. So I started selecting different types of flooring, right? A different color from the other. For the larger circles, I used a lighter texture color, and for the paths, a darker texture. And for the smaller circles, I used a yellowish color to give a nice contrast. And in the middle, where there's grass, I used that well-kept grass texture, so that we could have wide open fields here where people could, I don't know, have a picnic or something like that, right? Speaking of picnics, I also placed a lot of assets in the squares. I usually put a gazebo or a fountain in the center of the circles, and around them, plenty of benches for people to sit on. In the smaller squares with yellow circles, I set up areas for food courts. So there are plenty of food trucks, lots of ice cream carts, popcorn carts, hot dog stands, and so on. And I placed plenty of tables with chairs around them, right? So people can also sit down and spend some time there while they eat. After all, the idea of this park here is not just to be a place people pass through, but also a final destination, right? A destination and a meeting point for the people. I also did the detailing in the open areas, so I put in playgrounds, some playgrounds for the kids to play. I also put in some wooden benches so you can sit there with your feet right on the grass, And in the end, I think this whole mix turned out really well and with a different design. Just imagine, man, how many plazas I've already created in this game. So we have to keep reinventing ourselves all the time to come up with something different. Sometimes we reuse an idea. Anyway, I'm going to show you how the final result turned out. Well, from above, as you may have already seen, it looks really cool visually. Okay, I'll even zoom in here, centered, so you can see the circles of the plazas connected by the paths, right? So the design ended up, I don't know, it even looks like the Steam logo or something, but it's a cool design here, really different. Well, I'm gonna get closer to one of the plazas here with the fountain in the center and the benches, right? It's a shame we don't have the bench animation. People also don't walk around here, right? Because there's no invisible path when playing in vanilla mode, right? But that's what we could do. And over here, we also have a newsstand, some benches here for you to sit and read the daily news from Barbacini. Here, a bandstand, and over here, we have the rest of the squares, right? Look, it's a little food court. This one sells drinks. This one here, look, sells books here too, and magazines. You can sit there and kill some time. Look, over here, there's another food stand. Look, the ice cream cart, the hot dog cart, and the little stall. Here, this one sells what? Donuts, chocolates, right? Really cool. And there are also little chairs for you to rest. That's how it turned out, right? I think it's a good use of space. Wow, this corner is really busy, isn't it? And it looks really nice here with the buildings, the park, and the squares. It's a busy corner because of the bus station here. Well, I think it turned out better. Let me know what you think. So, what did you guys think? Here it is. Look, we can see it in the big lawns, right? There are some structures. There are also some playgrounds here, and there are also some benches. Look, wooden benches here where people can sit, right? I put this in all our fields here, the more open ones, right? Does it have this detailing? I think this one has a playground too, look, and then parents can bring their kids and stay around here in a calm and safe way. Well, going back to the explanation about the city entrances, right? Do I want to make an entrance here? Here, we have a passage that's only for trains with a railway track, which I'm actually going to remove to see if we can do it in a way that the train tracks cross this body of water together with the highway. After all, after the last downloadable content, we have it now, right? The drawbridges in this case would be this one here, look, which comes with both the railway and the highway. Well, is this a height here? Okay, I should go up a little more, right? I think I'll make it a bit higher. Yeah, all right, the bridge is done here. Now, the hard part will be the connections. I'll even remove this vegetation here so we can clearly see what we're doing. Barbosa City's collected plants, right? Now, I'll try something similar. I'm going to try to pull 2 strips and bring them down here, at least about 10 meters. Actually, I think you can already see 4 lanes, right? 2 in each direction. Here, a 10% slope, I think that's acceptable. All right, I even made a curve here to follow the curve of this coastline. Well, now, yes, here I'm going to try to separate them a bit. I created another parallel one here, right, which will be the main road. Now we have to work on some access points. A lane, it can be brought straight over here like this until it has a nice slope. And the other one, man, actually, I think I have to update this to 2 lanes. And then from these 2, right, one will go this way, the other will go that way. All right, well, I'm going to do this part down here now so it doesn't stay too abstract, right? Let's solve it here. There you go. Looking at it this way, it's better because here, this passage, I can already work on it in a more definitive way. Now, right? It's going to do something like this here, but in this direction here, entering the bridge. So you can make a direct connection here. Look, connect up to here. Okay, now just this section here, I'm going to update it to 2 lanes. And I think it has to be from here. Look, so I'm gonna create a street here, split the segments, right? And I managed to update just this part. And here I can delete and pull a road from here. Look, this road, this access, it's going to be the hardest one. Because, you know, it has to come to this side here, but we already have an overpass here, right? How do we make it go through the same space here, right? Without causing a conflict like this and also not creating a gigantic ramp. Look, it goes through here. Look, with 15 meters of height, it works. So I'll do it like this, then later put it at ground level, right? And bring it back here. Well, and that's how it turned out, right? Let's look at it from the side, okay? It looks like spaghetti, but I think it's a rural area, right? There's not much need to limit the space. And even so, I think it turned out pretty compact. Now I just need to apply the math for the lanes here. But first, let's solve this problem, which is the railroad, man, because it's kind of tricky to make this exit here, especially if you don't use mods, because everything conflicts here, it all gets in the way. If you try to make a side exit here, you'll end up with a slope of 20%, man. And that's not very good, no. Try to do the most the game allows here. It would be an exit more or less like this. And then, right, you already start bringing this slope, this ramp down to ground level here, see? Okay, look, it turned out like this, right? That's what we could do. We have to make a slight curve here so the train track and the highway can enter together on the same bridge. And that's it. Now, yes, just apply the lane math here and it's pretty easy, see? Here we have two. One exits, the other continues, right? Getting one here. And it turned out pretty simple. Actually, everything is right here. Everything is correct. And now we just need to make the arrival here. Here it's going to be a little more complicated because we have a highway and we have an avenue, right? I think, man, that it will be much more efficient if we pull this highway back a little bit here and make a direct connection here, okay? In fact, like here, I'm going to put predominantly low density. I think we can even reduce this road to just one lane on each side and work with that, right? These two lanes, one to go to the highway and the other to go here, to the avenue and here. I think an accordion intersection would fit really well here. Look, I'll bring two lanes for two-way traffic. Going down here, right? Already making this ramp, moving a little bit over here, okay? Making the roundabout here, the curve here, making simple connections. And now it's just about making the connection here. Look, on the other side, there will be one here and another one here. This road here, I'm going to continue it. Can I bring a straight stretch all the way here? And I also wanted to make some access points here for the bridge. I don't know how polluted this is going to get, but we can test it, right? I think it's okay, right? Let's see. Here we also need to connect the train track. Okay, train track here, also connected. And now start planning the street layout for this area, right? I think it's here at this end of the island. I'm gonna try to do more or less the same layout I did here at this other end, which will be a final curve here. Look, between the avenue and the highway. And from here, I'll make a little extension, creating a triangular roundabout here, which I think will look more fitting and nice too. And then we gain this end here to extend and explore this part. Well, I'm going to make two streets here, which won't be alleys, because they'll be main streets, mainly to connect the highway with the avenue. Here, look, so I'm going to make a street here and the other one about here, also with this purpose, but they will be one-way streets. This one here, right, will only be for arriving, and this one will only be for leaving. And here we can already start planning streets, right? So I'm gonna clear this forest here and start drawing what will make up the street layout for this back part of the island, right? Well, we can keep extending these streets we've created. Look, up to about here near the slope. Maybe I'll make a street here too. Look, I think one here on this divided avenue, maybe we can bring a street here. We have in this crematorium a garage that, man, would get in my way if it stays here, maybe relocating it over here, right? We can keep extending this street all the way to the end. I think I'll connect it here, look, to the little road, right? No problem. I'll keep extending this street over here, but without connecting it to that one, right? Because after all, it was all just one street. And then it was changed to make an avenue pass through here, right? So it makes sense for it to continue this way, even if it doesn't connect here. Man, I think as for actual traditional streets, it'll just be these ones. We could even have one here in the middle to help, right? We could make a curve, a break in this coast right here. Look, so a street right here would be welcome. But I wouldn't connect this one to the road. I'll leave it as a dead-end street with a little roundabout at the end. like CJ's street. And here I connect it, right, to this other street, right? And I close off this block too, bringing this street up to here and this one up to here. I think I'll even make this one a pedestrian walkway, you know? I'm not really liking this intersection here on the walkway. It's really nice, going straight to the beach, cool, and over here, right? I'm going to keep this same approach, making some breaks here in the streets, using alleyways here too, so I can fill in these big blocks with alley streets and make them smaller and easier to zone. See, and then we start making this inner area denser. Here we have the bus garage, which we can now relocate, right? I think I'm going to move this garage a little more towards the edge of the city so it doesn't get in the way over there. And then I'll connect this new area with this one here, which we built a few episodes ago, so it's a bit older, making sure the streets interact and connect. So, man, here it's kind of by feel, okay? I can't really explain how things happen, but what's important is the end result, right? To end up with a result that's organically pleasing and visually attractive, that's good too. I'll also take this opportunity to chat a bit with you about our city's Skylines 1 series, which is planning our capital while I'm building the street layout here. Well, a lot of people ask, right, in every episode now of Barbacena, and when there will be a new episode of Vale Central, man. And the most honest answer is, I don't know. Because these are videos that take a lot of work, you know? They require dedication, you know? A process of research, script writing, and recording, right? Since I appear in it, there's also this production part of building in City Zoom, right? Because we present the video as we build. And everything there in Vale Central takes a long time to build. Because I have to do it once and then keep repeating it. In every other part of the city, it's exactly the same thing. So it ends up being a bit exhausting, you know? Anyway, to get to that level you saw, it's a long process and it takes time, right? And it's time that I don't always have available because of my job. I mentioned to you some time ago that I had been fired from the job I was at. I found another one, but it doesn't pay exactly the same. And it's also not exactly something I like to do. But we need to pay the bills, right? And then I end up not having time either, so if I get some extra time, I use it to record. Sometimes I even skip having some fun or something like that to record because it's something I like to do. And Vale Central has been a lot of fun to make. The only real problem is time, man. Anyway, that's pretty much it, right? And to thank you all, right, for the immense affection and comments from you all on the Vale Central videos. It really helps me stay motivated and want to keep going with the series. Right? You guys are amazing. You're the best. All right, guys? So the whole neighborhood ended up like this, cut through by this intersection. And I thought it turned out really cool because it really looked like the neighborhood was a single unit. But then it got this intersection right in the middle. So, what do you think? Some blocks were destroyed and some streets ended up as dead ends, right? And the dead-end streets also indicate that the avenue was built after the neighborhood, and that's why it ended up like this. Here we're mainly going to have fish markets. So we have, look, in the commercial areas, these coastal businesses here, right? But that's beyond the fishing industry. We'll talk about that in another episode. We have both the European style and the North American style. Stores, boutiques, gas stations, supermarkets, restaurants, motels, bars, and travel agencies. Because I thought there was a market that sold only fish, right? It seems like there isn't one anymore. I swear there used to be. Or maybe I'm just having a Mandela effect. Anyway, let's put this coastal thing maybe in the European style, maybe in the North American style, so we can see how it turns out. Oh, it already started off wrong. It started without access from the street, so let me remove this zoning. Let's see which of them matches better with the Japanese style. Then we'll choose one, whether it's the European or the North American. Meanwhile, let's take a look to see if people are going to use this new access. Look, there's already a guy here. Look, entering the city through here. It's Sylvia Mosley. And now he's going, look, entering the city. Passing over the canal here, going down the ramp, making the turn and already coming straight through here. On Central Avenue, the main avenue here in our Japanese city, right? The access has become much easier, and there will already be fewer cars passing through the other two intersections, which are much busier. This guy here is going to where he's heading, to this building that's located right here, very close to our new Nipponic Central Park. Well, some businesses have already grown here. Look, this one is in the European style. We can only see level 1. We have to wait until they reach level 2. But here we have a food store, right, that sells meals. Here we have one that sells chemicals, probably a perfumery here. Okay, and over here we also have an electronics store. Let's see now, the American style is more spaced out. It takes up a lot more space. And this one here sells food, it's a restaurant. And here we have one that sells recreation. Companies that produce goods and services, both material and immaterial. It seems to be a business like a rental store, right? There's something about movies and all, I'm not sure if that's it. And here we have a bar, it sells drinks. So, which of the two styles do you think would look better here on this slope? Or should I mix them? Anyway, I'll leave the zoning to do off camera, right? Because I'm going to do that zoning. The standard of excellence you already know, right? And that has already been done in other parts of this map. But I want to know your opinion about these two styles, okay? Leave a comment. So, in the future, I'm planning to bring the fishing industry here to set up a small fishing industry. Maybe even use a ship passage here, by boat. I don't know, but I'd have to adapt this bridge here too, right? If I were to do that and this one as well. Actually, I think the ship wouldn't even come here because the channels here are kind of narrow, right? But I don't know, right? You could do something cool here in this river to give it some movement, right? It's not really a river, is it? Anyway, it's winter, we have a lot of snow on the mountain, and we're finishing up our Japanese city, right? With this transition here already to the suburbs, maybe a future fishing industry? And here? Later, I'll try to make some rice fields, right? Use some grains to put here along with a more spread out city. That kind of small city. Lots of countryside. And it's gonna look cool when we see it from a wider perspective, right? Well, that's it, my dear friends. I'm going to end the episode here. I truly hope you enjoyed it. Many thanks to our vice mayors, Orbital, Giovanni Freitas, Jose Fernando, Nagal, Pedro Mendez, and Rafuksho. Many thanks also to our secretaries who are watching this video in advance along with the vice mayors. And many thanks also to our counselors who are the foundation and pillar of this channel. Their names are appearing right now as a way of saying thank you, all right? And a very special thank you to you who are not a member, but are always here. Watching Barbosa's videos, giving your like at the beginning of the video, commenting and hyping whenever you can, all right? It's to you that I owe huge gratitude. We're always together. A big hug, and see you next time. So this is another episode, another video about coastal zoning here in the Japanese city.